Good evening and welcome to the Town of Rockland Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, October 18, 2022. Please stand and join us for a salute to the flag. We'll let the birthday girl, Vice Chairman Nyman, lead us off on this.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded for playback by WRPS at youtube.com/WRPS Rockland. Please go to WRPSRockland.com for further information. First on the agenda, community announcements. Voter status and ballot drop box announcements. Town Clerk Liza Landy. Liza, welcome.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. I have 3 things that I would like to share with you. Early voting starts this Saturday, the 22nd, for 2 weeks. And the hours are a little staggered. It's on our website under the Town Clerk section. The first week, it's 9 to 1. Maybe I should back it up. This Saturday, it's 10 to 4. Next week, it's 9 to 1, and then the following week, it is our regular business hours, including late night. And speaking of voting, the reason I had asked to come before you guys was because during the primary, there was a tremendous amount of people who were inactive, and there was a confusion as to being inactive versus being deleted. So I asked Doug if he could put it on social media. I contacted WRPS, I contacted WATD, I contacted Donna Shortall to make sure that I was doing everything that appropriate because there was a lot of unhappy residents. So I'm trying to get the word out. And Gino put it on the board out front. If you didn't respond to your census, your voter status is inactive, meaning you just have to prove that you still live in Rockland. That's great that you pay your taxes. I get it, but it doesn't have any correlation to your voter status. You could still own the property and moved out of town and we don't know it. So I'm trying to get the word out. Election is in 3 weeks. So that's why I'm here. And aside from early voting, but I would like to excitedly announce that Rockland got a ballot box out front. I'm sure you saw it on your way in. It's available 24/7. It's ADA compliant. It's locked. Did I say it's on the camera? I don't know if I said that already. So it's very exciting because we sadly have mailed out 2,200 something email early vote ballots, not emails. Sorry. So there's a tremendous amount of ballots coming in, and it's apparently going to be a permanent thing. So they were all going into the tax collector. So this is a great way to have it not be going in there and we have a key and we go out a couple times a day and check it.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments for Liza?
Just so people know, it's a state requirement that they have to.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yep.
Yeah, that they have to.
Thank you. Yeah, I just don't
census.
do it willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yep.
So you didn't just decide to do this? Now that,
No.
Now that Don is gone, like you sat there, just
Yep,
always
I love
wanted
the angry
to,
phone calls.
yeah.
I love it.
Okay. All right.
So I've been
Okay.
trying to be proactive in letting the people know that you need to respond to your census, which go out in January, and I think it's 10 days. Is that accurate, Donna? 10 days you have to respond.
Okay.
So I'm still plugging away, and it's almost November.
Perfect. Anybody else? Any questions?
Keep up the good work. Thank you, Liza.
Thanks, Karen.
Awesome.
All right, thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Liza.
Thank you.
Liza, you're getting better and better at this the more you present. Not even turning red anymore. I know, I just got you. That's why I said it. I
She
just
will
got her.
alcohol.
Yeah. Next on the agenda, terror on the trails. Doug.
Thanks, Mike. Before I read the next announcements, just piggybacking on what Liza was talking about with the Dropbox, I also want to thank Dave Taylor because he helped us, I shouldn't say helped us, he did the work to permanently bolt it into the concrete patio. So it is securely fastened there, and since we don't have a facilities director, Dave helps out in a lot of other ways. So I wanted to thank him for that. 3 other quick announcements. So the Terror on the Trails, just wanted to announce this for the Recreation Department. That event will be Sunday, October 23rd at Hartsuff Park. The younger crowd can enjoy a daylight walk in the woods with Halloween decor and family-friendly spooky scenes along the trail from 4 to 5 p.m. This portion of the event is for children ages 12 and younger, or for those who scare easily. And then the evening walk takes a dark turn from 6 to 8 p.m. as Hearts of Park becomes Hearts of Park for a ghoulish night where a haunted and the lost come to dwell among the trails. The cost is $5 per person. Tickets are sold at the entrance or through a fast pass system where you register online at rocklandrec.org. Children ages 14 and younger must be accompanied by an adult, and you must register everyone in your party. So that's a very popular event.
Okay.
Next, I wanted to mention the police department drug take-back day at the Rockland Police Station. It's Saturday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the Rockland Police Department, in partnership with the Drug Enforcement Administration, Rockland Cares, and the Rockland Board of Health, is participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day on the 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the police station. Residents are encouraged to bring any unwanted and unused prescription drugs to the police station where they can safely dispose of the medications. Any questions can be directed to Sergeant Brian McDonald at 781-871-3890. And everything is completely confidential, no questions asked. And then lastly, I wanted to mention the Veterans Day Parade. I know we have another meeting where we can mention this, but I just thought I'd say it now anyways. It's Friday, November 11th, 10 a.m. As everyone knows, we participate in a Tri-Town Parade, so this year it's in downtown Whitman at the Whitman train station, and then goes to the Holy Ghost Parish. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody any questions or comments for Doug?
Do not.
Okay. Moving on, next on the agenda, minutes, review and approval of minutes of October 4th, 2022.
Motion to approve the minutes of October 4th, 2022.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Kara and myself, and Donna is abstaining because she was absent. Okay, next on the agenda, under new business, Building Department Local Inspector Appointment, Dave Kolakowski. Dave, you want to grab a seat up the microphone?
And Mike, if I can, while Dave's coming up, just to...
Absolutely, give us a little
Yeah,
background.
if I can just remind the board and let the public know, you did make a temporary appointment at a recent meeting for this position. It was temporary until we could find someone permanent. But this became really urgent since that last meeting, as that temporary appointment you made has had to cover full-time for another town where the inspector unfortunately passed away. So the need is urgent, but we're very fortunate to find this gentleman. All of his, he can speak for himself, he'll explain his credentials, but most importantly, you'll see at the end a letter from the state formally confirming that he's eligible to take all the appropriate classes to get fully licensed and certified by the state. Stacy Callahan, who's here, interviewed him, and he's obviously recommended by the building commissioner, Tom Rubel. So I just wanted to highlight why we had this appointment after the recent temporary appointment.
Okay. So Dave, welcome. Obviously, I've known you for some time. I haven't coached soccer, with you for years. But I just thought it was important to put a name to the face and give the other members of the board an opportunity to hear about your background, all the things that you've done, things that you continue to do, and things that you hope to do in this position. So with that, if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself,
Sure.
we'll go from there.
So I've been in construction since 2005. Went through the Union Carpenter Apprenticeship Program. Went through Wentworth Institute of Technology for 8 years. I hold a master's degree in construction management. I've had my construction supervisor's unrestricted license since 2011. So my background is wholly construction. I've been doing it for a long time. As you guys may or may not know, I also own my own business over in Hanover, which is completely separate, but my construction background obviously helped me build that out and bring that to fruition. So I saw the opportunity up on the Rockland job postings. I decided to reach out for the opportunity, got a chance to meet with Tom and Stacy. And the only thing, as we mentioned, that was holding me up was I just did not have that letter from the state that's been received or already started the process of scheduling my first classes and the process to get my building inspector's certification, so.
Anybody have any questions for Dave? Any concerns?
How long does that certification usually take? Do you know?
I believe it's 18, I have 18 months to obtain the certification.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, it seems like you have a great resume. I think it'd be a good fit.
Thank you.
Donna, any comments?
No, I was very impressed. I read through your paperwork earlier. I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion. You can go, Donna.
I would make a motion to appoint, and I'm sorry, how you say your last name?
Just like it's pronounced, just like it's spelled, Kulikowski.
Okay, Mr. Kulikowski to the position.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thanks, Dave. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda, victual license for King's BB's Pizzeria Incorporated, 440 Union Street. Do we have somebody from King's? Come on up. Want to just introduce yourself? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Dimas Philo. I had a pizza place in Malden and decided to to try it out that location to see, try to make some business. Rockland. I also live in Rockland too, and that's it. My English is not that good, so.
It's fine. Sounds
Yeah.
great.
How
Okay.
long have you been in business?
2 years.
So this is a much better commute for you than going to Malden? Apparently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's sure.
have enough employees that they can take care of it. You know what I mean? So I don't have to make the trip every day. You know what I mean? So.
Perfect. Oh, everything looks like it's in order. If anybody has any questions or concerns, otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Welcome to Rockland.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, CDBG waiver request 20-309. Mr. Wayne Dara.
And if I can just make a quick statement as Wayne's
Absolutely.
coming up, Mike. So the board frequently gets waiver requests for different projects that Wayne and his staff helps us to help the community with certain types of improvements. And they're generally just small amounts that go over the federal threshold, usually in the range of, the total project might be $40,000 or $50,000, something like that. And so I brief you on those periodically and you approve them and there's never any issues. This particular one, and the reason why we asked Wayne to come, is a much higher dollar amount and it's a much more significant need. And so that's why I asked Wayne to explain it in person, because I really wouldn't be able to do it justice. It's much more complicated. So with that, I'll turn it over to Wayne.
Thank you, Doug. Wayne Dara, President, Community Opportunities Group. We're the Town of Rockland's grant consultant. This case is unlike anything we've seen before in terms of the scale of the rehab that is needed. It has come to the attention of both the building inspector's office and the Board of Health for various reasons. It is of a scale that we couldn't normally do it just with grant funds. Under our programs, as Doug was saying, anytime we go over $40,000, we need to come and get approval from you first, and then that has to be submitted to DHCD, and they also have to approve us going over that amount. They've recently lifted that limit to $50,000 because prices have gone up so much. They're getting waivers on almost every project. But be that as it may, this project is way too substantial to do with just grant funds. We're talking on the order of probably $200,000, give or take. If we were to try and fund that just with grant funds, we would fall far short of our goal for completing 11 units under our current grant, because that would be the equivalent of about 5 units. So we've kind of come up with a concept of cobbling together a couple different sources of funds to try and finance this project. In addition to the grant fund, the 2020 grant funds that the town has, we have another source of funds called program income funds, and those are monies that were generated over time when people who had previously participated in the housing rehab program sold their properties and had to pay back the deferred payment loans that they had been given. We have about $70,000 in program income funds. Now, program income funds are subject to the same rules and regulations as Cdbg funds. It's just like having more grant funds. Now, the way that the state has changed its treatment of program income funds, the next time Rockland goes for a grant, it's going to have to add that money to your next grant. So it is going to be spent one way or the other in the next year or two. In addition to that, we have approximately $210,000 in what is called miscellaneous income funds. Now, that's very similar to program income in that these are funds that were generated by folks paying back their deferred payment loans who had participated in the housing rehab program. But for one reason or another, either the age of that repayment or the amount of that repayment, it didn't trigger the program income requirements. So the town gets that money and it can be used at your discretion. It is untethered to the Cdbg program. There are no federal regulations that limit how you can use that. Put it in the middle of the room and light on fire. I mean, it's literally no strings attached. So after meeting with Doug and Jen and the building inspector and folks from the health department, the veterans office, the council on aging, I mean, we've really tried to garner as many resources as we can here to help these folks out. My housing rehab specialist has been out to the property. He's done a walkthrough, he's photographed it, he's developed a couple different estimates of the work that needs to be done out there. And the amount of work is of such a scale that we decided to look at 4 different alternatives for this project just to see if there was one that was significantly cheaper than the other. One would be to rehab the existing house. Option 2 was to basically demo the existing house and rebuild it on the same foundation. Option 3 would be to demo the existing house and install a prefab on the existing concrete foundation. And the 4th one was to basically demo the house, abandon that portion of the site, and install a manufactured home on the parcel. And after looking at the numbers there and taking into consideration some of the other issues, trying to get a prefab house that would fit exactly on that existing foundation is very difficult and increases the cost. We didn't think that installing a manufactured home in that particular neighborhood would be doing anyone any favors. Just wouldn't really fit in with what's going on there. So we kind of came back to either doing extensive rehab on the existing structure or knocking it down and rebuilding on the existing foundation. And we think the best option to move forward with is to rehab the existing structure. There'll be portions that need to be extensively reframed and reworked and rebuilt, but we think if we go the full reconstruction route, we might run into other code issues. Is the existing foundation up to code? We're going to have to do work on that. And there are elements of the property that are salvageable. So we'd like to move forward with the substantial rehab. But We had concerns about spending this much money on one property, not just from the local point of putting that much of your resources into one structure, but also from the regulatory point of view, can we use that much CDBG money on a single property? Are there limits in terms of, what percentage of the original value can you use for grant funds, et cetera? So we actually had a Zoom meeting on Monday. Jen participated in it. We had 3 folks from DHCD, the director of the CDBG program, the assistant director, and our program rep, in addition to Christine Sullivan, my assistant, and Don, my rehab specialist. And so we walked through the scenarios with them. I had provided them some photos from Don's walkthrough. I provided them copies of the estimates for these different scenarios. And they were supportive of us doing the project. They acknowledged that there's a lot of work to be done there, but also there's a lot of other elements to this story that make it really a challenge, but also would be a tremendous story if we get there. So the concept that we're thinking about is using approximately $60,000 out of the current grant. And we spoke with DHCD about that, and they would be willing to give us a waiver on that. Use the $70,000 of program income you have, which is limited to that use anyway. And then supplement it with as much of the miscellaneous income, that discretionary money, as we need. Likely $100,000 of that 210 total. So there's a long way to go with this project. There are all sorts of other practical issues about where these folks stay while their property is being worked on. Can we really afford to relocate them to a hotel for that long? We really can't. Is their family who can take them in? So it's a lot of other things that need to be worked out. We're kind of putting the cart before the horse by being here tonight, but before we begin working on any of those challenges, we need to know if there's support at this level to provide that level of financial assistance. And this would be much like all the other work we do here. There'll be a lien filed against the property and the amount of the assistance we received. We'll probably do 2 different notes against the property, one for the CDBG and program income funds and one for the miscellaneous income funds, just so that if there is a repayment situation, because they come from different pools, we want to keep them in different pools. But what I'm looking for from the board tonight is basically a thumbs up to keep moving forward with this project, that there's a willingness to put resources at that level into this project. And, like I say, all the different departments are jumping on this and doing the best they can to help these folks out.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne. Any questions, comments from the board? Okay, so, I'll say this, Wayne, you and your program, you guys have done tremendous work throughout the town for a number of years. And to your point, this would be a tremendous story. This has been something that I think has been an issue. It's been brought up several times over the years, this property specifically. And I think any amount of work that you're able to get done and, be able to repair, or I guess ultimately pretty much rebuild this home, I think I'd be excited to see what comes of it.
I think what we can do with these resources, put these folks in a home that's going to be safe and sanitary for the next 15 or 20 years.
Yep.
And that'll help them personally. It'll take a lot of stress out of their life. It's going to lower their cost for heating this home. It'll have benefits beyond just, the revised curb appeal of what the property's gonna look like. It's gonna have a real impact.
Yeah, I think it's great. Is there a motion? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the CDBG waiver request for 20-309.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Thank
Wayne,
you.
appreciate
All
it.
right, we'll keep working on it.
Keep us abreast of the situation, please.
We will.
Thank you.
And Mike, if I can just say while
Absolutely. Yep.
Wayne is leaving, just I want to thank him for all his work on this, because he has a lot of experience, as you know, in this area, and for him to get up and say that he's never encountered something like this, it's a big deal. And it's taken a lot of brainstorming, with a lot of staff, and as he said, he, confirmed the plan with the state. So this really is a good thing.
Well,
that
yeah,
we're trying to
I think
do.
it's great. I mean, programs like this that allow a town to be able to do this, to take care of a resident that's fallen on hard times, I think it's excellent. It's phenomenal. So, thanks, Wayne. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, vote to refer open meeting law complaint to town council for review and response. Doug.
Sure, thanks, Mike. So as the board knows, we received an open meeting law complaint on October 5th. And what we have put on the agenda is really following best practices and kind of standard operating procedure for most towns, which is to put it on an agenda for the board to vote to refer the complaint to town council for review and to help draft a response. And it's appropriate to do that because it is a legal complaint, and so it's helpful to have an independent professional attorney help review the situation and understand what happened and respond accordingly and give the proper guidance. I know there's been some chatter out there about whether we're doing things in a particular way to avoid certain outcomes or to avoid things having to go to the Attorney General's office. And it's actually the exact opposite. Under the law, when we refer something like this to town council, or even if we don't refer to town council, if I did it myself, when we reply and respond to the complaint, we're obligated to forward that response to the Attorney General's office. So not only is it not true that this action is trying to avoid that, we're obligated to send it to the AG's office, and we will do that with the response. So I just wanted that to be clear. But again, it's a kind of a standard procedure. We take these types of things very seriously. That's why we'll have an independent attorney review it and give us honest feedback, and we'll have an honest response back and forward that response to the AG's office as well. So that would be the vote that I'd request tonight.
I'll entertain a motion to refer open meeting law complaint to town council.
So moved.
I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Next is Health Circle, Inc., 21 Commerce Road. That's going to be bypassed tonight.
Yeah, and could I just make a comment
Absolutely, yep.
about that, Mike? So, as I mentioned at the last board meeting, there's a new state law that was recently passed. It was Chapter 180 of the Acts of 2022 that changes requirements regarding marijuana host community agreements. And I have said it before, and I'll say it again, I'm extremely upset about this law. It's really going to hurt communities like Rockland. We're going to lose a lot of income associated with these dispensaries, which is really the main reason why we entered into these agreements to begin with. But the state is changing the rules of the game after the game's already started. So we had planned on having Health Circle, Inc. come in along with our attorney tonight to talk about how we can make the current host community agreement be in conformance with the state law. And again, we have a fully executed, legally binding contract for multiple years, but the state is now saying we have to change that midway through because they changed the rules. But as we work through this in anticipation of getting it on the agenda tonight, because the timing's important, because Health Circle's getting a new, needs to get their license renewed with the state hasn't come out with their regulations yet. The regulating agencies, the Cannabis Control Commission, so we need to do something, but yet the state regulations aren't out, the guidance isn't out yet. So our attorney has been speaking with their attorneys, and everyone agrees it's in our best interest to wait at least 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll get some guidance from the state for our next meeting, and then we can act accordingly. So I just wanted to explain why the delay. It's not on our end, it's because of the lack of state regulation that's enforcing the new state law.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have Council on Aging Director interviews. So we have some questions that we had kind of put together, very similar to the questions that we used at the last time that we did the interviews. Obviously, we know that that didn't work out for whatever reason. But in this case, just a reminder, whatever questions you ask one candidate, you have to ask the other. So we can start off with Karen Boyle. Karen? Come on up, Karen. Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman Nyman, would you like to start things off?
Hi, Karen, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome.
So my first question is, why are you interested in this position, and how does it fit with your overall career goals?
Well, I've done this before. I've worked at Marshfield Council on Aging. I was also a director at an independent and assisted living facility. So this is something I've always enjoyed, I've always liked. I got out of it for a while. I went into more hands-on working with seniors. I work for the South Shore Elder Services. But this is really where my passion is. This is what I like to do. I like to be creative. I like to, plan and do events. And so something I just love to do.
Great, thank you.
Selectman Chotto?
In your review of the Council on Aging Director job description, which functions represent your biggest strengths?
Just keeping all the balls going in the air, because the facility that I was at Marshfield, we had about 6 rooms, and sometimes 6 events would be going on simultaneously. So making sure that everything ran smooth, that everything was needed, that was needed was in the room, that everybody was happy, that the temperature was right, that snacks were being served, whatever the situation may be. But just making sure that everything ran smoothly, nothing overlapped. We didn't I didn't double book rooms, that sort of thing. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It's trying to keep everybody happy and everything going, and switching out rooms to make way for the next thing that's coming in, and so a lot of juggling.
Okay. In your role of director, you're responsible for preparing budgets and discussing the budget with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. In your current or most recent municipal position, please describe your role in the budget preparation and what experience you have in interacting with municipal officials, boards and committees, for example, the Finance Committee, or you're comfortable speaking in public and in front of large groups.
Okay, a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
All right, so I kept in with budgets with the Council on Aging. We ran, and mostly with, let me go back. With keeping in budgets, I was, it's not on my resume, but I worked for Brightview, which was a senior care facility, and I was the activities director there, and I had a huge budget. I had about $70,000 a year just for entertainment, so it was huge. So I had to make sure, but I had to space that out over a year, and I had to keep very strict, and if I went over, which I never did, even a penny, it would be a bad thing. So I had a certain allotment each month. I always had to keep to it. I always did. And I remember one time the director said, "You're over budget." I go, "You need to do your math. Check again." I'm not. And then he went, "Oh yeah, okay." And it's like, so I was always on budget. Always able to do that. What were the other questions?
Any experience presenting your budget
Oh.
to like a Finance Committee or to the Board of Selectmen?
Well, when I worked at Pulte Homes, I had several budgets to keep. So I had an advertising budget for my newsletter that I was solely responsible for that. I had a community activities budget that I had to keep, and I also we had other budgets for, for people who got sick, or, I had another little pot for that as well. And I would always have to, we did have a board, there was an HOA board, because this was, this community was overseen by a builder. So I always had to present, everything had to be to the penny. And I even had a member of the board had to review everything I did. Like every penny I spent had to be reviewed and cross-checked and make sure that every penny was there and every penny was spent appropriately.
Okay, so that's more, I suppose, maintaining a budget and achieving a budget. How about building a budget?
Well, I've created what I needed to create, especially when I worked at Pulte. They had no idea about how to do a newsletter, and I had to create, I knew how much I needed to make this happen. I knew how many ads I had to get to achieve that. So, that was all created by me, and they had never seen that before. They're like, "You're gonna go out and get the advertising?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure am." "And you're gonna maintain that?" I said, "I sure will." So.
Okay. Kara?
What programs have you implemented or overseen that were most popular at your previous place of employment?
I think the most fun one we had was when I was at Pulte. We had a Grandparents' Day, and it was wonderful. I mean, everybody likes to show off their grandkids, so, I mean, it was that was the first part. But we had so much fun. We had little, carnival games, but they were all homemade. And so that was super fun. And then we had cotton candy and popcorn. We had a clown. We had pony rides. And again, that was a big expense. So that had to be really worked into a budget to make sure that we, didn't go over on that. And it was just so much fun. We had a bouncy house and just people saying, "Oh, this is my grandchild. This is my," And it was just a really wonderful day. And it was just fun for the kids because the kids got to see where Grandma and Grandpa lived and the big clubhouse they had. And then the kids had fun, the grandparents had fun, and overall it was just a super day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donna?
What would you consider your greatest professional work accomplishment?
My greatest professional work. I think, in pertaining to activity directing or just in general?
Just in general.
I think I've done a lot of work with alcoholics and drug addicts and prisoners. I've done work in those fields because that's how I vacillate. Like I love the creative part, but I also like that one-on-one working with people who are marginalized. And I think just the feedback I've gotten from those people who've said, this has been a real help to me, or this has made a difference, or I love coming to your classes, or I like sitting down with you. It's it's been helpful. I think those are big achievements. Yeah.
Okay. So, today, seniors are living much longer. It's creating greater demands on the Council on Aging director. You're seeing, younger seniors that want to be participating in, fun activities and they want to go places, when at the same time you're seeing older seniors that are having, greater difficulties with, health issues and financial issues. As the COA director, how would you propose to deal with the situation?
You just do it. You have programs that, when I worked at Brightview, I had not only independent living, I had assisted living, and I had Alzheimer's. So sometimes I would create a program that everybody could participate in, and I would want inclusion, everybody to be participating. And there were some programs I had to separate, like for the Alzheimer's clients, I had to have separate programs because the other clients would not be interested in the programs that I had for some of the Alzheimer's. So, sometimes you can group everything together and it's great, and sometimes you spin off and you make it what people are wanting. Because I know when I worked at Pulte Homes, I had two separate communities. I had one in Plymouth, and then I moved to Maryland. My Plymouth community was like, we don't want bus tours. That's for old people. We don't want to do that whatsoever. When I went to Maryland, are we doing bus tours? We want to do a lot of bus tours. So they wanted to do stuff off property. My other community didn't want to do anything off property. They wanted it all in the clubhouse. So it's getting a vibe and feeling what works best. Some things will work together with the younger seniors and the older seniors. Some we might have to separate, but we can certainly have everybody enjoying the senior center. There'll be something for everybody.
Perfect. Kara?
What experience do you have writing and managing grants?
I have not had a lot of grant experience, I will tell you that. That I have not. I had tried to get some when I was working at the Council on Aging, but that was the one thing the director wanted complete control of. And so I never got a chance to really get my feet wet with that. But I heard the grants that you have here are they just keep continuing, so it's pretty much just, I think, is that what I was heard?
Yeah.
We might have just continuing grants.
I mean, I'm sure we have some that do, but I mean, we're always obviously looking for, people to go out and find find new grants that come out? I mean, there's.
You tell me
yeah,
what to do, I'll do it.
Yeah, grants are coming out
I'm
all the time.
I'm pretty smart. So just show me how, and I'll do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Donna?
Can you give a specific example of a time that you had to deal with a staff issue or a potential staff issue? How did you handle it?
I think with any staff issue, I think the thing is you just have to confront it and say, hey, there's an issue here. We need to sit down. We need to talk about it. You know, what's happening here? Is there a reason this is happening? Because sometimes it's not that the person is being, you know, obstructive or not doing their job. There might be something underlying. Maybe the reason they're late, they're 20 minutes late every day, is they have to get somebody off to school or get their mother fed or whatever the situation is. So before you go, you've been late 20 minutes every day, you know, okay, let's talk about it. Why is, you know, what's happening? And then rectify the situation. And there's always a way to make things happen. You know, I think the best thing is not to be like, you know, just find out what's going on, and then you'll be able to deal with it.
Thank you.
Okay, so as director, you're obviously pulled in many different directions in a day, whether it's managing programs, visitors, staff, all while having deadlines, budgets, year-end reports, grants, weekly payroll, et cetera. What techniques do you use to prioritize your day and how to interact with others under pressure?
I'm super organized. I am I'm very time management oriented. When I leave for the day, I already know what tomorrow I have to do. I'll know at 8:30 this has to be done. And I even set myself up, like at the end of the day, I would set myself up with things to do tomorrow. This has to be done, this. I'm also a very color-coded person. Everything I have is in color, like red. Like you'll see on my desk, I'll have a red folder, purple folder, green folder, yellow folder, and that will mean something visual to me as far as when I have to get this done. I'll always have a calendar out so I won't miss a deadline or a date, and I can see it at a glance and just say, that's what's happening, this is what I've got to get done. It's all about time management. There's enough time for everything as long as you manage your time correctly.
So just a quick follow-up on that. Have you been to the Rockland Senior Center?
I have seen it. I have driven by.
Okay, you've
I
driven
have
by.
not been
Okay.
inside, but it looks gorgeous.
Okay. So one of the things that I think our seniors have kind of grown accustomed to is consistent interaction from the director and participatory action from the director within the programs. How would you, being that you're forecasting your next day, how would you be able to accomplish, how would you ensure that you could accomplish all those things with the fact that you would be, in most cases, participating in events throughout the course of the day with the seniors?
Well, I think
And sometimes unexpectedly, just having conversations
Yeah.
with people that go on.
I mean, I'm a very visible person. I'm not one of
Yeah.
these people, I'm going to be in an office with my doors shut and going, look, I have stuff to do. You know, that's not who I am. I'd be interacting with every event, popping my head in, how's it going, how you doing? And I think your biggest crowd is usually your lunch crowd. You know, that's when you have the most people. So if we had like something happening the next day that didn't make the newsletter or something was going on, that's where we make our biggest announcements. Or pop into some of the other bigger classes, like usually our exercise classes were really big, and say, hey guys, this is happening tomorrow, or this won't be happening tomorrow, or whatever. So but again, you're not gonna see me stuck in the office. And from looking at the schedule, most of my office time will probably be in the afternoon, because it looks like from 8:30 to 2, you're pretty busy with the events. And then 2 to 5, I would be planning for tomorrow, you know, getting my, you know, it just looks like there's a lot of downtime in the afternoon, so that would be, I'd be doing that. And then during the day, I would be very visible with the programs.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Kara?
If you were appointed to this position, describe your vision for the COA.
Well, I just got this today. I just saw, well, I was sitting outside, you know, waiting, and it's marvelous. I think it's marvelous. I think it's a very great program. I think they've, you know, it's very full. I've seen other COAs that, you know, weren't as good as this. And my vision is, one, to keep the ball rolling, you know, and because I think it is a wonderful program. And then just add to it as I feel as I get some feedback from the community, from the members of the Council on Aging, when I get the feedback from them, see what we can expand on, see what they'd like to grow with, see what direction we want to go in, and expanding, you know, with more programs or activities or whatever the need is.
Great.
Donna?
If we were to call your previous employers, what would they say about you?
That I'm a delight. No, I think they'd all say it was great. Honestly, I'm not trying to be braggy, but you wouldn't get a bad review from anybody I've ever been.
So customer service has always been important to us as a board. Can you please describe what it means to you to provide examples of where you feel you have gone above and beyond in your work to provide excellent customer service to the public?
I guess in my present job, I actually get in a little bit of trouble because I go above and beyond. They're like, it's not your wheel, it's not your job, Karen, you're not supposed to do that. But just today, for instance, I go and see with the council, South Shore Elder Services, I go and I see clients, elderly clients, and most of them in housing projects who are, all on Medicaid, Medicare. And I had a lady today, and, we asked, how's your vision, how's this? So I asked her how her teeth were, and she took down her mask and she wiggled 3, and I was like, oh boy. And she goes, but I can't get to the dentist. I don't, my son is really busy, and, I just don't have time to do it. I said, all right, let's stop right there. I have a dentist I know, that we use. I'm gonna call them right now. I'm gonna make an appointment. We're gonna set you up with transportation, and we're gonna get you there. Now, none of that is supposed to be my job. I'm supposed to pass that on to a nurse, or I have to fill out a form for transportation. And I just said, you know what? This poor woman's teeth are literally gonna fall out. So I got her appointment on Tuesday, got the transportation set up, and she was teary-eyed when I left, like, I can't believe you did this like this quickly and got this done. Because if I did it the way I'm supposed to do it, it could have been weeks. So, but that's what you gotta do. Sometimes you gotta go that extra mile, and there's no skin off my nose, didn't take me too long to do it, but what a difference it made in her life. And, she's like, I'm in pain, I can't eat. I mean, how could you with 3 wobbly teeth? And they're the clients I work with, 95% of the clients I work with don't speak English. So I'm doing all this, again, through an interpreter as well. So I'm trying to, which sometimes gets lost in translation, because at first, and sometimes when I come in, they see me as the government, so they're a little fearful to open up to me or tell me things because they feel I might take something away from them, or they might lose their housing or whatever, and I try and be like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to give you whatever I can possibly give you and help you. So those things like that don't mean a lot, you don't think mean a lot, mean a great deal to somebody who's overwhelmed by it. Because all we do is send them a dental list. How can someone who doesn't read English look at a dental list and go, I don't even know what to do? So it took me all of 5 minutes to make an appointment, and then another maybe 15 minutes to make the transportation work. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Kara?
How many employees have you been responsible for?
In Brightview, I had 1, 2, 3, 6.
Good amount. Thank you.
Donna?
I don't think I have any other questions.
Okay. So from everything you've learned about this position in the town of Rockland, tell us how you feel you'd contribute.
Like I said, I've done this, and the funny thing was, when I was looking through your bulletin, the ads that are in here, I used to work for this company, LPI. I sold these ads. So I know even the other side of the coin, like how this is printed, where it's printed, how it's developed, how to get, who do I call to get more advertising? I mean, there isn't a part of this I haven't done, except grant writing. That's the only thing I could say that I have not done as far as working at a council on aging. I have worked every aspect of it. I've done the volunteer events. I've worked in the kitchen, when we're short-staffed. I've helped out with the meals. I've delivered meals. I drove the bus. I have a CDL. I've driven the bus and picked up clients when our driver didn't show up. I mean, I've worn every hat in there, and I've done it. I've been there, done that. And I like doing it, and that's the other thing, is I like doing it. I enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with the people. I enjoy working with the seniors. That's the part of the South Shore Elder Services I love the one-on-one interaction with the seniors. But the only reason I'm leaving there, it's become very rote, and there's no advancement, and it's boring. The work, the internal part, it's a little tedious.
Thank you. Karen?
I think I'm all set. Thank you, Karen.
Okay. So I just got a couple more.
Sure.
So if you were offered this position, when would you be available to start?
Well, I have to give 2 weeks at least, a minimum of 2. The other thing is it's very hard to train someone in what we do. Like they literally tell you it takes a year to know the job, and it does. It literally. So when you tell them you're leaving, they are not happy. They're like, oh my gosh, that means we got to train someone really fast, to get them in. So 2 to 3 weeks, depending on. And I'm training people now. I'm doing that right now. I'm training people. So.
Okay. So tell us anything else that you'd like us to know that will help us in making our decision.
Well, I'm also a holistic health educator, so I have a good background in health and wellness from a holistic point of view. I've done lectures on health and wellness. I've done lectures on addiction counseling at prisons and addiction centers. I was a stand-up comic professional for 5 years. I've done dinner theater, I act, I sing, and I'm also running a Halloween bus tour in Braintree, and I still have tickets left for a Saturday night, 7 p.m. show or 9 p.m. show, and I wrote the whole tour myself, and I will be performing it in a scary, scary costume and going around town, scaring people.
That's cool.
So, that's what I do.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. I think I read this, and I just read I saw your police chief is leaving, and it was a husband and wife team? Oh, a police chief and his wife?
Yes, she worked on this in the department.
That's
Yep.
pretty interesting. And so just, and I went to your, the fair, was it last week you had the fair, the street fair?
Fall Fest,
It was
yep.
a terrible rainy day.
Yes.
I went to that. It was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. And I tell you, I really got a great vibe as a town. It was just, there was just an eclectic group of people there. Everybody was super friendly, even though we weren't locals. Everyone's like, hey, I know. And then we wanted a place to eat, and they were telling us about the little diner down the street here, Ashley's, Annie's, something like that.
Anita Marie's.
Yeah, we went there. It was delish. And then they had the beer garden, and it was, I wish it wasn't raining, because I'm sure you would have had a lot more people. But it was really enjoyable. So I thought, what a nice, pleasant town. I don't come to, even though Rockland's only spitting distance from where I live in Braintree, and I used to go to Holy Family, but, I don't spend a lot of time here, but I said, oh, let's go to the fair and just check it out. So it was nice. It was very nice.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You'll be hearing from us. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I plead the fifth. I feel like I'm on trial. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Same questions?
Yeah, we have somebody else coming in, right?
We do.
Okay.
We'll give just Stacy a minute to
Okay.
take care of that.
We did have a third person, but they dropped out to stay with their current employer.
Yeah, they got another opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Julie, welcome. So we just interviewed another candidate, and we're just going to go through literally the exact same questions that we asked her. Karen, you want to start it off?
So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ben.
My first question is, why are you interested in this position, and how does it fit in with your overall career goals?
I am interested in this position because I've found a tremendous passion since working at the council for the past year. I feel like it fits in with my goals. It is the opportunity couldn't come at a better time for me personally. And I feel like I am fit for this job.
Great, thank you.
Donna?
In your review of the Council on Aging Director job description, which functions represent your biggest strengths?
A few, I would say. Managerial-wise, I feel like at my last job, I learned a significant amount that would really go forward in this position, as well as, oh gosh, there's a few things. Budget, I know somewhat about. I feel like that would follow suit. Just the overall idea of being there, the programs. I love everything about it. I feel like this is for me.
Thank you.
So you just mentioned budget. So in the role of the director, you're responsible for preparing the budget and discussing the budget with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. In your current and most recent municipal position, please describe your role in budget preparation, if any.
Okay, so I've become quite familiar with the budget. As far as preparing it, no. As far as being aware of it, yes. I've been doing the payroll. I do the warrants every week. I'm very familiar with the current budget, what's going where, as well as the grant money. Have I gone ahead and presented it or prepared it at this point? No.
Okay, so that was kind of part of my second part of this question, is what experience you have in interacting with municipal officials, boards and committees, for example, the Finance Committee, and do you feel comfortable speaking in public and in front of large groups?
I do. So the last career I had was in wellness, a large wellness company, and I had to talk in front of sometimes 100 plus people. I didn't have to, it wasn't in the municipalities, but I did have higher upside supervisors that I would often have to come in front of and share, you know, my ideas on certain things, as well as just they gave me material to share with large groups.
Okay, thank you. Kara?
What programs have you implemented or overseen in your previous employment?
So we often collaborated in the past job, the wellness company, especially when COVID hit. We had to quickly go to Zoom meetings, and we had to realize what we did in front of folks was real different than what we're going to do on an iPad or a computer. So collaboratively, I worked together to create health and wellness programs, and the majority of the folks that I did speak to throughout the years, and there were thousands of them, all on the South Shore, were, I would say, 75 to 80% in the elderly senior category.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna?
What do you consider your greatest professional work accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment would be just being how to get along with people, how to be open-minded and realize not everybody is going to fall into one category, so to speak. I know that's not, I mean, I could tell you about a certificate I got or an award, but I mean, I can share that as well, but I don't know if that's as important. I was picked as the ambassador. It was a short-run program because we did so well. We found after about 6 months, a year, it wasn't really needed as much as we had thought. But that was a pretty big deal for me, yeah.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So today, seniors are living longer.
They are.
It's creating greater demands on the Council on Aging and other age-related services. There's more healthy, more active seniors who want to go places and do things. And then there's, conversely, there's a number of people who are facing health-related issues and financial issues. As COA director, how would you propose to deal with this situation?
Okay, so that's a couple different answers. Folks are definitely living longer, we all know that. One thing I would love to propose would be have some kind of memory care. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dementia Friends. It's a nationwide program. A few local centers have it now, a few local councils. So it's for folks that, say the spouse wants to be active, or the son wants to be active, or the caretaker wants to be active. Now they're finding somebody in a different role where, with memory care, I'm thinking, dementia, Alzheimer's. So in the latter part of your question, memory care, having some kind of memory cafe, I'm sure you guys have heard of that before. That would be something really neat to bring there. And then with folks staying longer, more activities. We offer a ton of fitness activities already, but again, not everybody fits into that. So then maybe there's a group that wants to go on trips, and so we want to bring the folks into that group. What we currently have is awesome, so I don't see a need for a change immediately, but shortly down the road, absolutely we're going to have to add more. Technology is huge. We did some basic computer classes over there. But, for example, I had a woman the other day come in, and Walgreens couldn't, I shouldn't have said that name, sorry. A local pharmacy, sorry. She couldn't help her, she wanted her booster shot. Oh, no, you have to do it online. She didn't know how to do it online, and I gladly helped her. It was not a big deal. But that is super common. That happens all the time. Another just technology thing I'm thinking of, a lot of towns now, to get into a football game, you can't pay cash. You need to do it on your phone. You have to show a QR code. What's a QR code? You know what I mean? So that's a huge piece of it too.
Okay, thank you. Kara?
Do you have any experience writing or managing grants?
So I took a basic grant writing course when I decided to apply for this position. It was an online course. It was a free program. They offer up to 8-week courses, but I did this kind of quick because I just wanted to see what was out there. I have not written any grants yet. I'm familiar with the grants we currently have at the Rockland Center. So going forward, I did learn a lot in that class. It was fairly brief, but I'd be more than happy, and I would continue to educate myself a bit more on that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna?
Can you give a specific example of a time you had to deal with a staff issue or a potential staff issue? How did you handle it?
The one minor thing that comes to mind is in the last position where I held quite a few positions, but one of them was what we call location coordinator. So I was in charge of letting folks in the building after hours. I'm talking about maintenance people, if we had a plumbing issue, if we had someone that had to clean the rugs or whatever. And, I had somebody that I was trying to show the ropes to, whatever, they didn't show up. I did that a second time with this person, and eventually had to have kind of a sit down and discuss, how we don't do that. Yeah.
So as the director, you're pulled in a lot of different directions throughout the course of a day, whether it's managing programs, daily visitors, unexpected visitors, staff, all while having deadlines, year-end reports, grants, weekly payroll, etc. What techniques do you use to prioritize the day, and how do you interact with others under pressure?
Okay, so the council now is wild. I don't know how often you guys get to poke your head in, but it's a blast. You have to have a multitasking hat. You have to wear that hat. As far as prioritizing, well, certain things have deadlines, right? So my ultimate goal will be in the morning, jot down a to-do list in importance levels, right? Like what has to be done, so that we know the payroll has to be in by Monday at 10. We know the warrants have to be in Wednesday by noon. So have those in order. Make the list, but make it, for exactly what you said, not overwhelming, because something always comes up. An instructor doesn't show up. Somebody was missing a mail, so we have to run out and deliver a mail. You have to be ready for the unexpected, expect the unexpected, so to speak. So write a list, check it off, but have room for something to come up.
So as you know, obviously you've been working there for the past year. The seniors here in Rockland have somewhat of an expectation that the director is part of the programming and
Absolutely.
and is interactive with them throughout the course of
Sure.
the day. Are you comfortable being able
Absolutely.
to, like as you said, accomplish your list with all those distractions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem. Not that long back, Peg had been away for one of our big events, the strawberry shortcake. So she had said, hey, do you think you could just run it for me? And I had a blast, because I do like getting up in front of people and making it fun, giving them energy, walking around schmoozing with everybody, and we had a blast. And I know them all pretty good at this point. No, not everybody. We have new folks come in all the time. But yeah, no, I absolutely love that. Again, it's about priority, right? So maybe first thing in the morning, try to check a few things off the list. Then you go pop out, walk around, they're playing cards, pop into the exercise room, check on everybody, then go back, get something else checked off the list. We have that 8 to 4 hours. You do what you have to do by, 9, 10, you check it off. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Kara?
If you were appointed to this position, describe your vision for the COA.
Right now, I think it's perfect. However, I know that's not realistic. So right now, I would leave it as is for the next couple of months. Just let it be, so to speak. I'm sure I would get bombarded with, can we do this? Can we do this? And in my head, I already have it. No, not yet. Let's give it a few months, right? Then come maybe the turn of the new year. Let's pull out some new, like I mentioned, the technology. That's a really big piece I think needs to be addressed for a lot of us, right? So number one. Secondly, here in Rockland, we have a huge Brazilian population. I'd love to see a little bit more Brazilian folks and anybody else come on in. So maybe offer like an ESL type adult class. Maybe find a high school volunteer. A couple of Thursdays a month, I think the high school kids get out at 11. So maybe have them, come in and team up with somebody. The kids over there, they, speak pretty well Spanish, and then the Brazilian kids themselves could help, bring that in. I mentioned earlier the Memory Cafe. That would be definitely a piece of the puzzle. Trips are huge. Folks are always asking to go on trips. We have certain social groups that do them here and there, but I'd like to do some more of those as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Donna?
If we were to call your previous employers, what would they say about you?
They would say I am loyal, I'm hardworking, I show up, I'm a hard learner, a quick learner, I admit when I'm wrong, I ask questions, I'm not afraid to ask questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
So customer service has always been a priority of the Board of Selectmen. Please discuss what this means to you and provide examples where you feel that you've gone above and beyond in your work for the public.
Okay. So since I was a young kid, I've always worked in customer service. It just kind of followed suit. I do always joke I'm one of those weird people that like the public. I like a challenge. Are there hard people to deal with sometimes? Sure. Challenge me. I'm going to make you smile every time, or I'm not going to let you leave. But customer service is huge, absolutely. What was the second part of the question? Sorry, you threw me off.
Yeah, what did I say? Please
Oh,
describe
so-
an example where you've gone above and beyond.
Gone above and beyond,
in your
I'm
work in
sorry.
public.
Okay, so, well, I'd say helping the woman with the, doing her COVID vaccine, absolutely. This is gonna sound corny, but I truly feel like every single employee in that building goes above and beyond every single day to help everybody. I can give you a couple scenarios. I had a gentleman come in with a list, and he said, "Oh, geez, I'm running to the pharmacy. I'm looking for, I heard you might have a cane for me." Oh, of course, we carry all that stuff. So I come behind the desk, and I see he has a list, so I get Brian to get the cane, and I said, "Can I ask what else is on that list?" And he said, named a few more, a commode, a walker. I said, "We have all that here. Give us a couple of minutes. You know, we'll get it all down for you. We'll bring it out to your car." This guy, it made his day. He was almost in tears, and I kid you not, he was ready to go spend all this money, you know, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't, how much do I owe you? What can I give you?" "No, you don't have to give me anything. Can I give you a hug?" "Of course you can give me a hug." You know what I mean? That happens all the time in there. And I'm so fortunate to be there. So fortunate.
It's nice to hear. So my last question for you is, how many employees have you been responsible for supervising?
So probably about 25, 20, 25.
Nice. Thank you.
Donna, you're all set? Okay. So from everything you've learned about this position in the town of Rockland, tell us how you feel you'd contribute.
I feel like I'd be great. I'd bring a ton of motivation, a ton of energy. Again, won't let them leave without a smile, having fun. I feel like my past experiences, not necessarily as a director at a senior center, but do I have what it takes to be a director at the senior center? Absolutely, absolutely.
So this is slightly different because you're an internal candidate, but if you were offered this position, when would you feel comfortable starting?
I would feel comfortable starting soon. As we know, Peg's fabulous, and I've been lucky enough to watch her this past year and learn so much from her. I feel like there's a couple of more things I have a couple of questions about, but I feel confident I could start.
Okay. So tell us anything else you'd like us to know that will help us make our decision.
Okay. I feel like I have so much motivation to do this position, to be here in Rockland for these people. They're like family already. I want to follow suit with that. I want to make what Peg has already made 100 times better. So when she comes back in a year after retirement and pops her head in for whatever, she is, you know, so proud and so happy. I feel like I have a lot of different neat ideas that would only bring the center, it's already so busy, but bring it even to that next level. You know, offer as many different programs and trips and educational classes that we can to take it to the top center in the town.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so.
Okay. Julie, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
We will not be making a decision tonight. We have a
Okay.
couple members that couldn't make it, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
So they're going to review the interviews, and we will have you guys on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right, awesome.
All right. Thank you
very
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, other new business not reasonably anticipated. Doug?
I have none.
Okay. Old business. Vote to rescind 10-4-22 appointment of Richard Penny to Charter Maintenance Committee.
Sure, if I can, Mike.
Yep.
So the board earlier in the meeting tonight did vote to refer the open meeting law complaint to town council. That vote had to happen in a posted public meeting, so you weren't able to make that decision until tonight. But I did take the liberty of having a phone conversation with town council prior to this meeting and in setting the agenda. And the advice that I got from council was that the prudent course of action would be to do just exactly what's printed on the agenda. And I should highlight that, again, we have a charter review committee. It's a little bit complicated because it is a committee of 9 people, but of those 9 people, 3 of those people are made up of the charter maintenance committees. And sometimes those terms get used, you know, interchangeably, but we had posted on the last agenda charter review committee and an appointment was made to Charter Maintenance Committee. So the prudent course of action that I'm recommending is that you vote to rescind that appointment that you made at the last meeting to the Charter Maintenance Committee, and that further, as you'll see in the next item listed on the agenda, while we've said this many times before about the vacancies on this committee, and we've put it in the newsletter and other places, just to be very, very clear, it's printed on the agenda, and we would state again that there is, that we are announcing vacancy on the Charter Maintenance Committee. So I know I'm kind of combining two things, but they are related. So that would be my advice. Rescind that prior appointment. We announce the vacancy. And to be clear, it's 1 vacancy on charter maintenance and 4 vacancies on charter review. And then 2 weeks later, at your next meeting, if you'd like to put it on the agenda then, you can review the different applications you've received and make a decision at that time.
So entertain a motion to rescind?
Motion to rescind the 10/4/22 appointment of Richard Penny to the Charter Maintenance Committee.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Doug, did you just kind of make the announcement of the vacancy? Or
Yeah, I
would you
did,
officially
and
say
I'll
it?
just say it again,
Yeah.
you know, for the public's benefit. Maybe I'll even explain a little bit more. So for those that aren't as aware of the intricacies of local government, the town of Rockland has a town charter. That's essentially like the town's constitution. And that charter is something that voters approve at town meeting, ultimately gets passed into law by the state legislature and approved by the governor. And that's what creates the structure of our local government. And it can be amended from time to time as the town sees fit to update things and change things that best meet the needs of the community. And one way to do that many communities do, is they'll have a committee made up of volunteer residents to help review things, get input from various sources, and in Rockland's case, we've appropriated funds to have a consultant from UMass Boston Collins Institute who's an expert in updating charters for communities. So they will be a consultant to the town. They'll help provide guidance. The committee will review things, debate different ideas, then come up with a set of specific recommendations. They'll then forward those recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, and then it's ultimately up to the Board of Selectmen to decide what gets placed on a town meeting warrant. And then ultimately it's up to the voters and the residents of Rockland to vote at town meeting on what changes to the charter they might want to make, if any. So again, we're just formally announcing there's 1 vacancy on the Charter Maintenance Committee. That's a 7-year appointment. That's a permanent committee. And then there's 4 vacancies on the Charter Review Committee, which is an ad hoc annual appointment, an ad hoc committee. And again, the combination of those 2 things, the 3 members of the Charter Maintenance Committee is a subset of the overall 9-member Charter Review Committee. So I hope that's clear.
Yep.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay. Next on the agenda, other old business not reasonably anticipated.
I have none.
None. Okay. Town Administrator's report and correspondence.
Thank you, Mike. I do have a number of things to mention tonight. The first is I'm pleased to announce that the Board of Assessors, working in conjunction with our HR Director, Stacy Callahan, have hired a new town assessor to replace Deb Krupchak, who, as you know, recently retired. So we have hired Rachel Carlisle. She's the current Town of Cohasset Assistant Assessor. She plans on starting November 14th, and we're very excited to have her on board. It really is going to be a great fit. She knows the job. This is the next natural progression in her career. She's already taken the time after the appointment was made to come in and meet the staff in the assessing department, and it's clearly going to be a great fit, a good combination of fit plus all the technical knowledge that's needed. So we're very excited. You know, a lot of people might know a lot about the assessing department, but it's really critical. It's the beginning part of the whole financial operation. If values aren't set and if tax rates aren't certified by the state, then revenue doesn't come into a community, and then operations grind to a halt. So it's behind the scenes a critically important position. So we're very excited to have Rachel come on board. Next, I wanted to mention that I participated in a Rockland Library strategic planning session this morning with both town and school officials and members of the public. It was facilitated by a private consultant that the library trustees hired. Really a great process. These types of strategic plans are required by the Mass Board of Library Commissioners in order to be eligible for state grants. So a lot of interesting ideas came up. And in particular, it was really exciting because there were some school officials there, principals, administrators, and it was just a great collaboration of ideas, integrating potentially school programs, recreation programs, library programs, talking about future growth on Union Street and redevelopment of Union Street. So it's an exciting process, and once that strategic plan is done, we'll help push that out to the community. There will be more opportunities for community input, surveys, things like that, which the library will be pushing out. Next, this is sort of an odd one, but I'll just mention it just to kind of show the wide spectrum of things that I do in this job. A few years ago, if you remember, the town meeting voted Community Preservation Act funds to restore the King Philip antique fire apparatus. It's an old horse-drawn fire apparatus, literally a couple of years ago. We've failed thus far 2 different times to get a vendor to be able to do the required work because it is unbelievably specialized. It's not an automobile, you know, it's not a house, it's this antique horse-drawn fire apparatus. There's only a few companies in the entire country that are qualified and specialize in this. So the first time we did it, the firm that we were hoping would bid on it wasn't comfortable with all the different kinds of procedures involved with a request for proposals. So because they're craftsmen, they're not paper pushers like me. So we completely redid the whole process to make it much simpler, just explaining qualifications, have it based on price, fill in the number. They got the bid, and then ultimately there's some health issues with the main principal person at that firm. They weren't able to fulfill the contract. So then we went back to the drawing board again. We think there are some other firms in other states that are going to be able to do this work. We've just put out the invitations for bid again. So I'm crossing my fingers. We really want to get this done. And hopefully, if we can get a new fire station built at some point in the future, you know, that's where this antique fire apparatus, you know, could be the centerpiece in a front lobby. So that's sort of an interesting one. Next, I just signed a contract for the highway department to replace their fuel system, the massive fuel tank, all the computer systems and everything related, the infrastructure related to that. That was an article that was funded at last year's annual town meeting, and it's a critical piece of equipment. It literally fuels up every police car, fire engine, ambulance, school vehicle, you name it. So that work is going to be ongoing shortly. Next, we just yesterday selected the architect to work on the recreation building feasibility study that we spoke about earlier to potentially be located up at Hartsuff Park. We did the proper request for qualifications, had 3 excellent firms apply. It was a really hard decision, also an easy decision because we couldn't go wrong. Any one of these firms were qualified to do it. We definitely feel like we've hired the most qualified. They're going to get started right away. One thing we'll talk about later in the coming months is what your kind of policy direction thoughts are as far as what projects we want to put before voters and when. The fire station project has been in the queue for a while, and it's farther ahead as far as design and programming. As you know, we're looking at the Lincoln School site. This project is a little farther behind. However, the need is, while it's a different use and different program, the need is equally great because, as we've talked about, the McKinley School is just not realistically feasible to continue operating. So we'll talk more later, but maybe if I can just put the seed in your brain to think about whether that's something you'd want to have at the same annual town meeting warrant next spring, or whether you'd want to stagger them at different meetings. Don't need to talk about it now, but just putting that out there. We're going to push the architects, as long as they can do it properly, to have the study done by the end of January, beginning of February, so you have the option. If that is something you want to have looked at in May, fine, and if you want to put it off later, you can always do that. Next, we've talked about the McCarthy Farm a lot in the past, so we know all about that. I did want to mention that there will be a ribbon cutting ceremony that you're all invited to attend this Friday at 11 a.m. But I do want to caveat for the public that it's certainly a public event, but I'm intentionally not promoting this for the public, and I'm not really encouraging the public to attend. only because of the lack of space. It's a very small parking lot at the McCarthy Farm. It's a busy road on Beach Street with no shoulder, and I'm just concerned about overflow parking and people walking in the street, and I just don't want anyone to get hurt. It's going to be a short ceremony, and there'll be some officials from the state, some local town and committees that were involved in it. It'll be a brief ceremony, literally cut the ribbon. It will be recorded by WRPS, and we'll be able to replay that on YouTube and on the cable access station, so the public will certainly be able to view it later if they'd like. As I talk about the McCarthy Farm, which, as you know, we got a significant grant to help offset that cost of the McCarthy Farm that made it possible. I have to bite my tongue here, but I'm very excited because I just learned right before I came into the meeting that we are set to receive another very significant grant from the state on another project. And I'm saying biting my tongue because I can't say anything more about it now, because the technical term the state uses is that the details are embargoed until the state comes out with their press release and they announce it first. So I have to sit on the details, but I did want to say that we're very pleased that there's another large grant coming. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, the state will make their announcement so that we can get into more of those details with you at your next meeting. But that's very good news for the town. And then lastly, I just wanted to put out a reminder that we do put out a newsletter. One of the earlier COA director candidates referenced that she picked up a copy on the coffee table out at the lobby of Town Hall. It comes out generally every other month, and it's a great way to get caught up on some small things and also some larger initiatives in town. For example, there's many ways to access and sign up for the newsletter. For example, on the bulletin board in front of Town Hall, there's a flyer with a QR code where you can click it on your phone and sign up. It's also right on the homepage of the town website where you can sign up for the newsletter. You can also download all the prior copies of it. And then we also print hard copies and have them here at Town Hall, at the library, at the senior center, etc. The next edition of the newsletter, it's currently in process, so I don't want to commit 100%, but our goal, what we're working on in conjunction with Crystal Cameron, the superintendent of the Joint Waterworks, is to focus on water issues, because we know there's a lot of questions in the community about the water department, water quality, so we're trying to really focus in some plain language, some common questions and answers, so we can help them put out some good info about what they're doing to help provide safe and reliable drinking water in town. So I just want to encourage everybody that's interested in what's happening to sign up for the newsletter or pick up copies of the newsletter or download them off our website. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Doug. Selectmen's comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. Selectman Shortall?
I would just piggyback on what Liza was talking about. People do not understand that by not sending back there, because I did it for so many
You
years.
sure did.
I would talk to people who, it's in my to-do, my to-do pile. Yeah, I know, but like now, it's almost November and you still haven't sent it back. It is crucial because the state requires that at a certain point, anyone who has not responded is just automatically made inactive. And then they come in to vote and they're angry because you took me off the voting list. Well, no, you weren't taken off the voting list, but now you have to prove to us that you still live here. So just a piggyback on her comment, it is so important for people to make sure that their voting status is what they want it to be. They can call the town hall and double check. They can go on the state website and check there. It's just so crucial because people just get so annoyed because they assume that you have kicked them off the voting list. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Donna. Vice Chairman Hyman?
Just want to thank WRPS for these awesome sweatshirts they provided us. That's all I have tonight, Mr. Chairman.
That's all you have? Okay. Thank you, Kara. So I'd just like to wish Kara a happy 30th birthday, and outside of that, she decided to take a trip to Aruba for her birthday. So
Nice.
Outside of that, I don't have any other comments for tonight. I'm sure the next meeting we'll have a lot to talk about. But with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, roll call vote. Don Toto.
Yes.
Yes. Karen Hyman?
Yes.
And myself. Thank you very much. Good night.